What's going on, everybody? It's your girl, Pop Culture Mika.
And it's your girl, Just Right Jules.
And we're back for another Red Cup Talks Livestream edition. And it's political time. And y'all know I love to talk my politics with one of my favorite people, my favorite liberal, Miss Josie.
Hello, Mika.
What's been going on?
Girl, politics as usual. Like I say, pumpkin spice season. We're in pumpkin spice. That's why I'm wearing my orange.
Pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice season, girls. It's
y'all
September.
Not gonna ever talk about me in these comments. I ain't said nothing about no daggone pumpkin spice, but
I'm a Starbucks girl. I can go the lavender lemonade. I'm gonna give it everything. You know, pumpkin spice chai is the way to go. So most people do like the pumpkin spice, but I do the pumpkin spice chai dirty. So it's a little different. So it's not like the full-fledged pumpkin spice. But we in fall, and it just let us know that the election is like right around the corner. I can't believe it.
I have no idea what that is. Pumpkin spice chai, and maybe because I don't drink coffee like that, but I do like pumpkin, so maybe it's good. I'll try it one day. But yeah, I'm so happy that the election is about to be almost done. It's great content, but it wears me out. It wears me out, right? Because you have to have thick skin, right? Especially doing things on a public platform. And it wears me out because, you know, I'm on this platform, I'm on Anton's platform. I'm going to be doing some different podcasts. So I end up talking about it a lot. So yeah, it wears me out, but you know, it's for good reason.
Where's your peace at? Where do you find your peace in all of this?
When I close the daggone laptop.
I was not expecting that. I was expecting like when I'm working out in the morning and having my tea or something like that.
I real quick. I'll be like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not touching this damn thing no more. I don't answer no comments, nothing. So when you see me answering comments or when y'all see me on social media, it's because I am currently online. But when I am off, I am unplugged from this thing. When I took off last week for vacation, I was off. I took off from Anton. I took off from my own stuff. I took off from all of it. I wasn't on social media at all. I was just like.
But you needed that though. You've been going strong, and then you got to finish strong for the end of the year. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, it was refreshing. I didn't have to think about nothing. Like when I got back, I was like, damn, that happened. Yeah.
Girl, I just found out, like, no sense to go sidebar, but I just found out that Rich homie Quan died.
What?
Yes, like they said he overdosed.
Now I don't. It's still look, now you got. I'm gonna put that on my little pop culture roster here.
Yeah, that is crazy to me. Like, I don't know. I mean,
I would want to know, like,
why it is going on right now, like current, like within the. I found out right before.
I have a video coming out with you know, my pop culture stuff talking about, you know, the thing that happened with Cardi B and some other stuff with her photo shoot and having pedo in the back. Yeah, so yeah, we getting into some stuff on that or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna look into that because I didn't know that. I told you I'm a little behind. I'm a little behind because I'm still on Miami time, even though it's on the same coast.
It's the same. I was gonna say it's on the same coast, but it's okay. You know, different zip codes.
But you know, when you're on the water, it moves. It moves slow. It moves slow.
The weather different. The weather different. I'll give you that. The weather is different. It's a little cooler. I got you. It's cooler. Actually, it is cooler. You probably came back and it was like, damn, it got chilly at night. Right? Because it is. It's been chilly.
I said 58. 58 degrees. Yeah. I was in the look. You see my tan? You see my tan?
I see you got a little tan.
I got a nice little tan. It's only gonna last for a couple of weeks, but we're gonna work with it. Well, I got it. You know what I'm saying? I got a little glow tan. It's a
I
little
see.
bright. Because usually when the lights hit me, it's like.
I love it to come brown. Look, that's gonna go into one of the topics we got later on. Yeah, come on over to the dark side. The black effect is here.
I know that's right.
I'm an idiot.
But
even though Barkia be like, you ain't that black. Barkia be like, you ain't black. You ain't black.
Nah, you ain't like me. You ain't like me. Okay, sir. Did you see? Speaking of that, did you see Tyrese when he said? And I got something on that too. I got a video coming on that. But Tyrese when he said, he was talking to Shannon Sharp and he said, "Hey, me and you, we a different kind of black." He was like, "I'm gonna give you some of my oil." He was like, "Cause you know, as soon as we step out the shower, we ashy." I said, "What's that?" Tyrese, he right, but still, you had to say that.
Not the ashy though. Damn, I was not expecting. I didn't see that, but I just
Tyrese is a mess. He is a
not
mess.
different. You right
He
though. It
is
looked
a
like
mess.
you done walked in some flour. I mean, and I say this
He
respectfully
said,
because
but he said, as soon as we get out the shower, he was like, soon as we dry, it's done.
I ain't gonna say that far because I ain't that brown, but I know what it's like about 20 minutes if I ain't
I've
old.
seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it, especially on feet. But yeah, but yeah, we be clowning sometimes, you guys. But
no shade. We
so
love our
today I wanted to get in on really talking about the middle. And when I mean by the middle, I mean all third parties, your independence party, the independent party, the Green Party, I found out about some other parties that it's a lot of them. And the thing about it is, I know not every party can be represented, but for some reason, just in the United States, we are like it's just a two-party fashion, right? Which entail kind of makes it like you don't really have a choice. Right? Because if I'm giving you the choice, then you don't really have a choice. Right. And so I look at other countries, and other countries have multiple parties, different type of people get in, different type of, thoughts, and whether something is too radical or not, you can argue. But it's like we only stick with these two, and it's like, are we as a people sticking with them, or is it being pushed on us to stick with these two, right? By making sure that the other gets no shine at all. And I do mean no shine. So I wanted to hear your thoughts before we got into the videos, like your thoughts on, the middle. What do you think?
I mean, I think the one thing about the middle is like, we know the money person, whoever has the money makes the rules, and they can do way more when you got the money and leverage to do the marketing, to do any of the propaganda that comes with that. And I find that hopefully within the next couple of years, we'll probably see more stronger independent people participating in the election. No disrespect to, Dr. West or JFK or any of those individuals, Tulsi, however, no shade to those individuals, but I feel like people are even tired of that, and those people are not going to get the money that they need to campaign and to do the work to get it out there. So like, for instance, if I were to pick a person to be like the independent representative that I feel like could win, it would honestly have to be someone that's already in pop culture. So for instance, like a Jay-Z, and I'm just saying Jay-Z because whatever, I'm like Kanye before Amber. Okay. Like those are the people that could have been sufficient. Even Ice Cube, hypothetically, if Ice Cube has transferred into that. So it's like, I feel like we would need someone of pop culture that people respect, know that they can trust, that can actually lead that party. Other than that, it's going to be what the party's going to be, because they're not going to get the money. Because it's, we see the situation with, Dr. West right now. People going to go where the money reside, or they're going to turn down the money, so.
Well, I know like a lot of people don't know why we have a two-party system. So I just wanted to play a video real quick that I think kind of explains it a little bit, and then we're going to get into the people we're going to talk about today. So I just wanted to play this really quick, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. Am I already sharing it? Yes, I am. All right, here we go.
State largely made up of unaffiliated voters who can participate in political primaries, but not assemblies. But as Democrats and Republicans meet this weekend to ultimately decide who ends up on the primary ballot, we're taking a look at how the U.S. ended up with two major parties we have now and how it's shaped the politics of our country. Here's Newsy national political correspondent Alex Miller with a deep dive.
It's 1787. Our founding fathers are putting quill to parchment to form a brand new government. Nowhere in this pivotal document is there any mention of political parties. That didn't stop the formation of two distinct visions for a young nation. First were the Federalists, led by a man whose popularity has risen thanks to a Broadway musical, Alexander Hamilton, the first Treasury Secretary. His party believed in a strong central government and a looser interpretation of the Constitution. But the working class went against the Federalists' elitist, business-centric ideals, and they rallied behind Thomas Jefferson to form the Anti-Federalists, later dubbed the Democratic Republicans. They believed the government was too powerful and only benefited the wealthy. But by the early 1800s, the Federalists dissolved and the Democratic Republicans split in two. That's when politicians started campaigning with all the mudslinging and ad attacks we know today. In 1828, a bitter, hard-fought campaign gave rise to President Andrew Jackson and, what historians argue, the beginning of modern American politics. A lecture from the Khan Academy put it this way.
In the previous election, all of the candidates had been Republicans in one form or another, but now the Republican Party is going to start to fade away, and the Democratic Party will come to the fore. And this is the same Democratic Party that is still in existence in the United States today.
But not everyone agreed with Jackson's visions, which included expanding slavery and resettling Native Americans. His opponents blasted Jackson as a tyrant and founded the Whig Party to oust so-called King Jackson. As the Whigs expanded, so did America. The Democrats of the South wanted slavery to spread into new Western states. But the Whigs were so divided over the issue, the party collapsed. Slavery supporters joined the Southern Democrats, while the anti-slavery proponents created the Republican Party in the North, aka the Party of Abraham Lincoln. The Civil War was the beginning of a major shift among both parties. Government spending during the war made some Northern Republicans rich. They used their influence to help enact policies protecting big business and wooed new Black voters as a means of punishing the South. The Republican agenda was doing great until the Depression hit. Lecturers at the Khan Academy gave this history lesson.
So the pro-business policies, the lack of regulation in the 1920s leads to the stock market crash of 1929. And it was a Republican president, Herbert Hoover, who was in the presidency at the time of the crash.
So Americans turned to Franklin D. Roosevelt, a Democrat, to help get them out of the financial crisis. Roosevelt expanded the role of government, creating services like Social Security. That's how Democrats rebranded as a party in favor of a hands-on government. But by the 50s and 60s, the Democratic Party began to crack. Newer party members like John F. Kennedy supported civil rights, but older Southern Democrats were pro-segregation and felt the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was government overreach. They abandoned ship for the Republican Party, joining the fight for less government and no integration. Over the next 30 years, Black voters would switch their alliance to their new advocates, the Democrats. And by the 1980s,
the first real tax cut. The American family has come under virtual attack. Small business will never be relegated to a back seat.
Ronald Reagan's policies created a Republican platform that lasted 4 decades, but parties are still undergoing major demographic shifts. President Trump upended Republican ideals by appealing to voters' mistrust of the government elites. Now, worsening political divisions have some wondering if there's another way to make more voices heard in our government. Alex Miller, Newsy.
That reminded me of like back in the day when I used to watch the little cartoon where it was like a bill is born. This is how the bill, like it was like the newspaper. You're on mute.
My bad. Yeah, now you're definitely dating yourself. My mom used to talk about, what is that? Schoolhouse Rock.
Schoolhouse Rocks. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my mom loved that. Like, she kept showing me that when I was little. I was like, ma'am.
That was nostalgic.
But that goes to show back when they they used to, promote knowing civics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays they don't want you to know nothing. No. Because yeah.
Because we know.
But yeah, but I wanted to show that, right? Because I wanted people to understand at least where the two-party faction came from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that we used to have all different types of parties. So right. it goes to the point that I was saying before, that we used to be able to have different types of parties. Now, when you come into modern day, right, these two parties have had such a stronghold that other types of parties and ideas don't get in, right? And so I think a lot of the times now, and again, everybody has their opinions on these candidates, but if you look at Bernie Sanders and if you look at Trump, neither one of them are actually, like, Trump is not a Republican technically, and Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat.
No, they both.
So, but if you understand the two-party factions, like you have to fit in. Well, if you want, a real chance at winning, unfortunately, you have to fit in somewhere in there. But that's where you get a lot of the, when Bernie Sanders was running, a lot of those Democrats did not like him. They did not like him. They didn't like him running. And honestly and truly, now when you go back and look at it, and it was the talking point at the time. But every time it's something happening at the time, people, that's not real. That's not a real thing. But they didn't like Bernie had a good chance of beating Hillary out. A very good chance.
He had a better chance.
They pushed that man out. They pushed that man out, right?
Not I voted for him.
And the Republicans tried to,
I said I had voted for him. I had voted for him before it got to the primary, and I ain't had no choice.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I had no choice but to vote for her.
Split, right? It's split, right? But a lot of the people that voted for Bernie, they did vote for Donald Trump. So that was it's kind of like what we just watched, right? That when it breaks off, a portion will go here, a portion will go there, but a big portion of Bernie Sanders supporters did vote for Donald Trump, which is the reason why when it happened the second time, they got Bernie on the whole Democratic bandwagon to make sure his voters go that way, because a lot of them did not like, Miss Warmonger Hillary. Like, they already knew right? They already knew what they were getting, which is the reason why they were going for Bernie instead of her anyway. Right. And so when you look at it on the Republican side, a lot of the Republicans, when you look at the debates, right? The Republicans, they didn't like Donald Trump. They still don't like Donald Trump. But what I think the Republicans did better than the Democrats is that they rallied around who the people wanted, even if they didn't like him, right? Now the nefarious part comes in later, but at least up front, right? They rallied around who the people wanted, because when you fight against that, right? One, you stand a chance to lose, and two, it starts to show your hand, right? Because if we're going for Donald Trump and you keep pushing this person, then that tells me that you want this candidate for a reason. So you're not for the people. And that's what I think, excuse me, that's what I think the Democrats did wrong. They pushed out who the people were voting for. The people were not voting for Hillary Clinton. They were voting for Bernie Sanders. So again, even though Bernie Sanders, yes, is a third party candidate, that's why Trump touted as an outsider, because technically he's not a Republican, and that would be outside of that establishment. So my whole thought process in it is that having third party candidates come in, you get different ideas that you may not have gotten from a Democrat or Republican, because they're going to keep pushing their agenda, the same thing, right? And then being that they have all that money, they're going to be able to push those agendas. But when the people allow the third party candidates to come in, then you get different ideas that actually speak to what people on the ground are actually talking about. So,
but not only that, you open your options. You open your options, because if you have your third party like pushed the same way, like a part of the debates, a part of all these different encounters that they have at this point, I think that you have three people. I agree with you wholeheartedly on this. I don't feel like we should just be focused on just two parties, because in that event, if we had a Trump, a Bernie Sanders, and a Hillary ticket, right? Well, people still wrote in Bernie Sanders, but if he was like, pushed forward and people backed him and everything like that, we now have another option. And Bernie Sanders could have taken some of both Trump's vote as well as Hillary vote to get the electoral colleges, as well as to win the popular vote. But then again, there's a lot of people that do not like Bernie. So I don't know how well that would have fared in some states where they feel like he's a communist and stuff like that. Because that's the main thing that they focus on, is like, oh, he's a commie, whatever the case they say about Bernie. I don't agree with that. I think he genuinely.
I don't think Bernie's a communist. I think he's more of a socialist.
Socialist,
but yeah, I think he's more of a socialist. But he even touts that a little bit. I'm a democratic socialist,
right?
Right, and I don't agree with socialism, because one, my family's Cuban, and I know what socialism can do. Right. And where it ends up, I mean, and then if you look right now at Venezuela, they're coming from what? Socialism. Okay. So it definitely has a big, it's never worked. Let's just put it that way. It's never worked. Right.
It's not gonna work for us mostly. It won't work.
If you look at how many places have enacted that and how many times it's worked, it's a never. So that's why, don't get me wrong, if you want to look at different types of ways of doing things and saying, okay, how can maybe I use this to get an idea of how it can fit to where I'm, what we're doing here, that's totally fine. But to have to go full on, socialism, and I remember when Bernie was, doing it, people are like, yeah, socialism. I'm like, yeah, you ain't never been a place that's socialist.
Right. But that's why when they were saying he was a communist, I'm like, what the heck are you talking about?
And there are people in I remember in California, the people that were make California, communist. I'm like, have y'all been to China?
Right. Like, do we like, that's the thing. It's like sometimes we make these statements. It's like, do we really know what it is? And it's like, no. But I would have preferred to have Bernie as an option, because I know it's like so many people during that particular time, they were like, I want to vote for Bernie. And like, especially men, like a lot of Black men, if that was the one thing, because a lot of Black men did not want to vote for Hillary because of her history with, and then, at that time, people weren't sure what they were going to get from Trump. Like no one knew what they were going to get from him. So more people were inclined to Bernie. So that's why it's like, now we did a disservice, because one thing for sure and two things for certain, Bernie would have been open ears to both sides. An independent person, an independent party is going to be open to both sides, but also create ideas for the people in the middle.
Right. And see, that is and this is why I like to have the talking points outside of the mainstream narrative, because I can say what, I don't like about pretty much anybody. But that's why I say I rather vote on policy, because the policies actually are going to affect me the most, right? Because this it's not like it's you and me who talk all the time, right? So if I don't technically like this person per se, I don't have to deal with them all the time. But what are they going to put on the paper, right? What are they going to do that, in public policy that's going to affect me, right? So that's why I look at policy versus, how I technically feel about somebody personally. And I think with independent candidates, we get more of policy driven things, right? We get more of the okay, this is how it's going to be done. This is how we're going to do it. Whether you like the policy or not, you get it.
Right.
And it also brings new ideas. So I have the short minute video, right, that talks about like why, third party candidates don't get in, but that like they're the main ones that bring in like these new ideas and that spark new things. And it was something that I didn't even know until I watched this video. And that's why I like to have new ideas and new things, because sometimes it's things that I don't even know. Nobody knows everything, but it's things that, I extensively read and look at, and sometimes it's remiss. I miss it. So I want to get into this quick 1 minute video on that.
When most of us think about third-party candidates, that's who comes to mind. Kooky individuals who are fun to watch. But come election day, you only really have two choices. Still, over the years, third-party candidates from Teddy Roosevelt to Jill Stein have served an important role in bringing the radical into the mainstream. And in some cases, third-party candidates are really the only ones trying to solve actual problems on the ground. So how is it that third-party candidates became incubators for some of America's newest ideas? Throughout most of American history, there have been two main political parties, from Federalists and Democratic Republicans in the early days to Democrats and Republicans in modern times. Along the way, each of these parties formed around opposing ideals, and yet these platforms always fell within the lines of what was considered realistic at the time. For example, after losing the Republican nomination for president in 1912, Teddy Roosevelt formed the Progressive Party, championing causes that were seen as too progressive. Things like a standardized 8-hour workday, women's suffrage, and workers' compensation for injuries. Roosevelt gave a face and a voice to, at the time, fringe ideas. Even as recently as 2016, Jill Stein, running for president within the Green Party, pitched student loan forgiveness during a town hall on CNN, and of course, she was ridiculed. Yet in 2021, when President Joe Biden announced his hallmark student debt forgiveness program, the discourse turned, and suddenly there was a real debate to be had. What do we do about student debt? But perhaps no arena embodies the virtues of third-party candidates like local politics. Last summer, I was in Austin, Texas, reporting on water security for Now This Earth, and locals kept mentioning how neither Democrats nor Republicans had offered real solutions to any of their problems because it wasn't politically convenient. They would rather turn to third-party candidates who might be the only ones proposing actual solutions. The numbers tell the same story. Over the past 2 decades, majorities of US adults have typically agreed that a third party is needed. And still, in the 2020 election, more than 90% of Democrats and Republicans voted for Biden and Trump, respectively. These numbers make it clear that Americans desperately want ideas from outside the two-party duopoly, but continue to vote for a safe option from within the two-party system. Yet, when these ideas like student loan forgiveness go mainstream, the conversations they ignite are seen as valuable. The truth is, no matter where you stand, you've likely questioned whether your party represents the people or merely demands support from them. In a time when the solutions to our most pressing problems are going to require radical change, it's increasingly seeming like candidates from outside the traditional system are the only ones trying to find real solutions to issues on the ground. So, my friends, that is how third-party candidates have come to be incubators for some of the US newest ideas.
So you see what you see what I'm saying? So it's like how he said Jill Stein was the one that came up with the the student loan forgiveness.
Thank
Does
you, Jill.
anybody know that? But does anybody know that? But here's the thing. Like, whether you're for it or not, why does the mainstream not already want to do it? Because it's just like my man said, they don't want to do anything unless it's going to benefit them politically. And that to me tells me it has nothing to do with me as a citizen, as an individual. So already there, you're telling me that it's just political. You're only going to do it if it actually benefits you. That's the only time you're going to do it. So you get laughed out when you actually present it, but then all of a sudden when it pops back up, oh, this is great. And I'm telling you, the mainstream media does that all the time. We've had this conversation before. They do that all the time. We're like, this was
that's
presented when?
everywhere.
This was presented when?
People take everybody's ideas in general. Like, we just in a situation where everything is so publicized, so much information, we can get so much information that people can take something and then put their name on it and say that it's theirs, like it ain't nothing.
Oh no, I know, like Obamacare, right? Like, I didn't like it when Mitt Romney did it, but at the end of the day, Mitt Romney did it.
Right.
Why is it called Obamacare? You get what I'm saying? Like, this
Mitt
was
Romney did it.
Yes. So Mitt Romney did it over there in Massachusetts.
Okay, so
he literally enacted it's the same bill. He did it in Massachusetts. Massachusetts had that bill already. That's where he got it from.
Okay. So even with that, like, I can say, just like with Jill Stein, and you said the student loans, like I told you, my student loans was forgiven. Well, not through the same program. It was two separate things going on with the student loans. So you had the student loans where people had went to schools that had legal issues and stuff like that. That was the school I went to. That's how my student loans were.
Oh, the private schools that were
misappropriating funds and stuff like that. I'm not mad at it because the joint went from 46,000 to zero in a matter of day, in the night. I was like, oh, zero. Thank God. But on the other side, then you have people with the student loan forgiveness that they haven't passed that yet. That's still whatever. But either way, Joe knows that he got whatever with Jill. My thing is this: if you going to take something from somebody else, at least have that person a part of your process of getting it to where it needs to go. You know what I'm saying? Because this person originated the idea. Right. This person originated the idea. So you need to talk to the originator, because there's probably certain things that they can help you with to have got them to that point that can be very beneficial. So that's why I'm happy that I think Trump also said that he's open to having a Democrat a part of his cabinet.
I honestly think that Tulsi might be one. Because Tulsi appeals to liberals. Tulsi, because she was a Democrat at one point, and Tulsi appeals to conservatives because she's traditional on the fact of she doesn't like big government. She doesn't like overreaching government, right? She's for veterans because she is a veteran, right? And she also she understands the factor of war, right? Not just going over there and saying, because it was something that she said that I loved, and she was on a podcast, and she said, a lot of my Democratic Party, didn't like that I wasn't for war, and that's because I know what it's like to be, especially in modern times, because she's on the younger end, right? I know what it's like to sit over there and watch the politicians come in for a photo op and then say, "Oh, I've been to Afghanistan 12 times." Right? And she's on the front line. So I understood exactly what she was saying, right? And so somebody like that is what you want. But a lot of the times, these parties do not want people that are listening to people on the ground, right? A lot of the times, these state and local politicians, they come up bright-eyed, bushy-tailed to Congress and find out that you got big money
Mm-hmm.
in play, and that you can't really do what you want to do. But a lot of them, they'll kowtow to the big money.
Correct.
She wouldn't, and they didn't like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh well, why are you questioning things? Why are you not, going with the flow? Why are you going against your party leader? And it's like, she's not beholden to the party, which is the reason why in the first place we didn't have parties, because
Right.
it would end up this way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's back to like having a monarch again. It's back to having a king or a queen. It's the same thing. So that's why the parties. I understood George Washington when he said like you have a party. This is what you're going to end up with. You're going to be back in the same boat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the thing with the taxes. I mean, it's all the same thing. That's what they were running from, per se.
Right.
So why put that right back in place? Like that's what led us to be over here fighting against, England in the first place, because we don't like any of those things. So
No.
I really thought this was a good point to like actually talk about why these things happen. So I want to get your thoughts on it.
I mean, essentially, I think like most people, I mean, this is all really about power. Everybody wants to have power and money. And the thing about it is that's what runs the country in general, power and money. And then you have people that genuinely want to do good. But somehow or another, I find out, like you realize that even the people that are trying to do good, they still got their stuff with them. All these politicians, they all got their stuff with them. The thing is, what part of the stuff that they have coming with them are you willing to accept? With a monarch, however, we just gonna get what we going. We have to be stuck into what comes from that line. And I feel like, why do we want to be put in a box? Which is why we have the party system anyway. So we're not in a box. So people's voices, so we can touch on at least not everybody, but at least people can decide on who they want to represent their country and represent the needs that they have, whether it be their policies, whether it be, in this particular case, we have a lot of people that are focused on people's personality traits, so their race, or however the case may be. We need to really hone in into what person speaks for us. And that's where I think that sometimes politics can kind of get like washed out, because even if someone is saying one part for us, there's another part of them that's saying something that's not good for us. And so it's like very hard to kind of even put it in, like, which is why we have people that were, split, because it's like, well, which one is going to benefit me more? Well, what do you value the most? And so with a monarch, they're going to do what they want to put in place, and we're going to go along with it. It's going to take away the voice of the actual citizens that have to be in that area, that has to pay taxes and stuff like that. So
right, well, which is why I don't like having big government, because you get into that area, you can call it government if you want to, but it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. You have somebody who's overreaching, telling you what to do, taking money out of your pocket. Because if you understand Western history, you understand Marie Antoinette, you understand
wow,
the Queen.
That's so bad.
You understand the Queen. I'm gonna leave it there, because some people feel a certain way about their queen. But so we're gonna leave that there. We're gonna leave that there.
The Queen, or did she rest in peace or something? It's something that the people, they say.
Hell the Queen, something like that.
Long live the Queen. The hand. I'm sorry.
That's one culture I am not familiar with. Like I try, because I look at the connection, on the political end, but on like the pop culture end of it, I'm not very familiar with a lot of their culture that way. So I know more of the political side. So sorry.
Girl, I watched the Queen. I mean, look, I watched The Crown, and I think I know everything.
No, the Crown is fire. Okay, The Crown is fire. That's where I've been trying to get, up a leg on. It's a good show, especially when it got to Diana. But I digress. Because I love her with Diana.
Okay, that one right there.
But
That was good.
yeah, I love her. But I wanted to get to this point of talking about RFK, right? Because RFK, we know his family are traditional Democrats. Right? Like his uncle, traditional Democrat, but had a lot of views that today, honestly, he would not fit in the Democratic Party because they're considered now to be conservative. Like if you don't want big government, it's a conservative idea, right? Which it is conservative, but it's like that's what being liberal was, to fight for that type of fashion of the government not being overreaching.
Right.
So, but nowadays it's something, it's got to be something extra and far out, right? It's not the party of JFK anymore, if you ask me. And a lot of different people, including his family, right? Because a lot of them, the values that they had, that's not seen in today's Democratic Party. Like you don't, and that's what Tulsi was talking about. You don't find those type of ideals anymore. You don't find them trying to limit it, government. Because one of the JFK speeches I tell you I like that he talked about was limiting government, limiting the banks, limiting or actually eliminating the banks, getting rid of the central banking system, which is what I think got him. I digress. But that's what it used to be, which is the reason why Democrats and Republicans used to be able to get things passed, because it wasn't so much of a stark difference on that end. But now you have it to where it's night and day, and it's like they've gone so far to promote big government that you forgot about the people. And that's really honestly my only and my main issue with the Democratic Party. It's big government. Everything is big government, and it's disguised under the fashion of helping people. But if you're overreaching into their lives and they don't notice it until later, because you have a lot of Democrats who are upset about policies that that came under the guise of well, I'm trying to protect you, I'm trying to help, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, and then you find out it came with all this too. Right. So that's the problem, because what's his name, JFK, when he was going to do the civil rights bill, he was doing it for black people,
right,
which is who it's for.
Correct.
But when LBJ did it, it had a whole different spin on it.
To include
Now,
more people.
yeah, now it's involving other factions, because now you're involving other money. Like it's big government again, and so it's not the same party. So that is my main problem with the Democratic Party. So
I mean, I think that we can say both parties have changed significantly over the past 10 years, because people say that even with Trump in office, I mean, I'm not a Republican, or nor do I know what it is that makes a difference, but they've said that a lot of people are saying even with that, it's more Trumpism than Republican. And so the way he's trying to go about doing things, it's a lot of Republicans that are pulling back off the Republican, like that don't want to vote Republican this year because of whatever comes with the Trump policies or the Trump antics or the Trump personality traits or just the leadership in general. And on the flip side, people can say the same with Democrats, how some people, honestly, I saw a report that the Democrats are doing, like giving away stuff like the Republicans would give stuff away. And I thought that was kind of interesting, because I was like, oh, like how so? And so it was more about the home, like with the home stuff, the housing market, they were saying like they sounded like they're giving like away like Republican vibes. And I'm like, so the thing is, when people do good, now say for instance, like Trump, you did the stem, he does something like uncharacteristically Republican, but it's good. It's for the people. Democrats do something uncharacteristically good, but it's more Republican. My thing is that should it really matter if who did it? My thing is if it's for the people, it's for the people. And so that's where we go back to the middle, where it's like, I feel like the person in the middle would be mindful of both sides and say, okay, I'm in the middle of this, so I get both sides. These are the things that we could benefit together. Let's pull a little bit from here, pull a little bit from there, and let's make it work. But they don't do that. And I think that that's
why I think that's why I said in the beginning, I don't tout Trump or Bernie Sanders as, the parties that they're under. I just think that they're under the parties because of the money factor, right? And being able to be seen, which we're going to get into with RFK, sorry. And they tout that factor because they understand it, especially Trump, right? With being a person,
he was Democrat.
Yeah, he was a registered Democrat when he was in New York. Yes, he was a registered Democrat. Right, matter of fact, all the way up until like 2015, something like that. So yeah, so here you have it. But he understood by being a businessman and funding both sides, right? Because depending on who's in office, things like that. Yes, you're gonna have to you got to play ball, right, when you're in business. But he understood that if I want to do these things, I can't do it being a Democrat, right? That's never going to fly. And then if I want to do these things, I can't be a third party candidate, right?
Right.
It made more sense when you have certain values of limiting government, right? That you would go Republican because you usually have more conservative values there. But just like in the Democratic Party, you have certain types of Republicans that don't want certain things to fly. So no, they don't like Donald Trump either, right? Because oh no, you're not going to come in here and disturb, the establishment, because when he won, they did the same thing. And to Donald's defense, he hasn't been he's not a politician, right? So he wouldn't have saw it as easily. These other people, whether Democrat or Republican, the reason why I go in on them more is because they've been in politics. They understand who those people are, right? When Barack Obama got in, he understood who they put around him. They put all bankers technically around him. Same thing they did with LBJ, right? Because John F. Kennedy was going to get rid of all the banking stuff.
Banks, right.
Right. Who did they put as LBJ's main advisor? Somebody from the Federal Reserve. So what I'm saying is, you look at all that and you're like, these people are beholden to the money, the party, things like that. Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, right? And it doesn't matter that I don't like Bernie Sanders. I'm talking about, I don't like Bernie Sanders' policies. I'm talking about what it represents, right? It represents somebody outside of that establishment, which is the reason why he didn't get in. Democrats did a better job at keeping him out than the Republicans did keeping Donald Trump out, right? And I think it was a bigger movement that the Republicans caught too late, right? Because Bernie had a whole movement, and the Democrats made sure they squashed that right out, because he had a whole movement. I mean, it was Feel the Burn and all that other good stuff, right? They were going. People that were on the liberal side, they were going. And the Democrats made sure they did everything to stomp that out.
I think there's more to that. And when I say that I think there's more to that, I don't think that's just like a Democratic thing. I just think that that's one of them situations where somebody else is in control of all of this in retrospect. Let's just be real. And I mean, it's just We know this. We know somebody else pulling the strings in this. They wanted who they wanted. They got who they wanted. They really all that. They knew Hillary wasn't going to win. They knew Hillary wasn't going to win. And the reason why they knew Hillary wasn't going to win because they didn't do the work for Hillary to win. Okay, the whole time they wanted Trump in office. I'm going to keep it a buck.
Oh, the Democrats? No.
The powers that be wanted Trump.
Oh, they did not. They did not. I'm telling you, they did not. And I'm telling you because they wanted to continue. Remember, we had this conversation about the 7 countries. They wanted to continue the invasions that they were doing. So whether it was a Democrat or Republican, because remember, Bush did it and Obama did it, right? So that's Democrat and Republican, right? But Trump didn't want to do it. So when he started talking about not being in wars and things like that, remember the Eisenhower, who was a Democrat, okay, talked about the military-industrial complex. It doesn't matter who is in office. It's about who they want it in. And if they know that person is going to do it, right. But Trump was not a part of that. Neither was Bernie, because Bernie talked about a lot of the stuff that was going on in the Democratic Party, and they did not like that. They did not like that. He talked about it in the military industrial complex.
I don't think they liked Hillary. I think whatever it was, I don't know who did not like.
Oh, the Democratic Party love Hillary. They love Hillary because she would have continued. She would have continued.
I voted
You're a
for
voter. You're not the part. Unfortunately, you're not the party. The party are the people up there.
I don't think they would ever with her. I feel like they still, and this is just me thinking from like the whole thing. If they didn't want Trump in office, Trump wouldn't have been in office. He wouldn't even been a Republican nominee for all that.
Oh, they underestimated him. They underestimated him. They underestimated him. The Republicans did too.
Underestimate him. They underestimated him, but I think they overanalyzed the ability, the power of Hillary. I think, and a lot of people said, like when she said to, I watched Hillary interview not too long ago, and Hillary was saying that someone came up to her and was like, I didn't vote for you that year because I thought you were already going to win. Like, what?
You know why? You know why? Because those polls and all that. Because again, when you underestimate somebody, right? Because you got to remember, again, he's not a politician. So they're like, okay, he making a little noise, yada, 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 yada. But remember when he was debating the Republicans, the establishment Republicans didn't take him seriously. So you got to remember, they think, when they have on both sides, when they have the candidate that they want, remember they have the money, they have the media, they have all of these things on their side. It was all the polls said Hillary was going to do this. I'm like, who is they polling? Because if I go outside, Democrats don't even like Hillary. So I'm like, who are they polling?
Right. That's the part right there. But she didn't go to certain areas. She thought that, she was just going to roll in like after Obama's high and just scoop up everything Obama has started. And that just wasn't the case. I'm willing to bet they probably, like, despite how much they dislike Trump, because one thing about Trump and Bernie, you can't control them. They both
that's the point I'm trying to make.
So my thing is this: if they didn't want Bernie, they didn't want Trump. Trump was president. Now we got Trump running again for a whole nother term.
They didn't. That's what I said earlier. The Republican Party caught it too late. The Democrat Party got up on it when they started to see a movement. Right, the same movement y'all call the Trumpers, MAGA, whatever. It was the same with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders had an actual movement.
Oh yeah, I seen it.
Amongst the liberals.
I have a shirt somewhere.
Bernie shirt. Right, that whole field to burn is the same as the MAGA movement. It was grassroots. That is something that they don't like. Meaning it's not manufactured. And I can call it for what it is. And I didn't even support Bernie Sanders, but I can tell you that was a grassroots movement.
Okay, so my question real quick, and I don't even mean, why are the MAGA people always so mad? Like, who are you mad at? Because it seems like every time, and I know we got some crazy ass liberal democratic people as well, but it seems like the MAGA people be mad.
I just ignore them.
I'm one of them, so don't nobody come for me.
No. Don't do that. No. I can literally pull up a TikTok to show you some crazy ass people. But go ahead.
No, it's some crazy ass people, but it's like it seems No, I could be like when I say that, you could be minding your business and they'll be like almost mad that you choose to vote where you vote. And I think, and I mean, it could be on both sides. I'm just speaking from my own experience. And I'm just like, what you so mad at? Why are you mad that I'm a Democrat? Why are you mad that I'm voting for Kamala?
Well,
it's
you
like,
got to remember.
Why are you so mad? Like,
you got to remember, Jules, that's not a that's not a MAGA thing. That's not a Democrat thing. That's a stupid people damn thing. Because I can tell you right now, there's tons of people that come on to, you know, my comment section, or even when I'm outside and somebody hears me talking about it or whatever, or somebody asks me a question. It's like, well, why are you voting? Why are you voting for? Because I can. Because I can. Like, I don't care that you're voting for Kamala. Now, if you want to have a conversation about who I think is the better candidate, we can have a conversation about that. But I'm not about to jump down your throat because you're voting for Kamala. Okay, well, I don't agree to vote for Kamala, and I'm not going to vote for Kamala.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. I think it's a stupid people thing, and what bothers me is that it's almost like I said, when you get these little labels and you get these groups and things like that, right? You start to have people inside of it that are just, let's just call it what it is. They're dumb, right? There are certain people in each group that are dumb or ignorant and things like that, and they're there to start trouble. They're there to antagonize. Like, they're just there because I told you, there's plenty of Kamala supporters that watch me, right? And I have no problem with talking to, but then there are some that just come on there and I mean they just and I'm just like, okay.
Well,
Okay.
you gotta get people the same, like, for the people that are doing that to you, they got to give you the same respect that they would want in return. And then second of all, if you don't agree with me, you have a choice to continue to scroll to the next video. So it's like that's
to click off. Yes.
Or you can just not comment at all. I mean, because people are not going to agree. But I'm like, dang, it's like I've noticed this time
and I'm okay
around
with the non-agreeing comments. Sometimes I even get stuff out of them. If you look at some of the comments, sometimes I'm like, okay.
But now we got to be aggressive about it. Like, the approach doesn't have to be aggressive, because it's like people are choosing not for your anger or for your aggression. It doesn't even matter. Like, people are choosing for their personal life, their lifestyle, for the country, however, their party, whatever it may be. And I do ask people that question sometimes, because I'm interested to know, what is it about that individual that is so good that I don't know. So that it's not to say it's going to change my mind directly, but it'll give me an opportunity to think like constructively about that individual and see them in a way in which I might not have. So it's like when you say to me, for instance, me and you've had this conversation multiple times, you like the policies, right? And whatever the policies may be, whether it's the tax bracket policies, the war policies, the reproductive policies, whatever those policies may be for you, that's a representation of your background, where you come from. I can't get mad at Mika for, for that being what you stand for, and vice versa. So I think I'd be like,
yeah, I can't stand stupid people. And honestly, like, if and it doesn't matter if it's, somebody I politically aligned with, because that still doesn't make us the same person.
Right.
So I never support any of that. That stuff bothers me. Like, when I see people on any side like hounding people like that, I just be like,
even the video you showed me, I'm like, the one with the girl getting beat up, I'm like, why are people so aggressive? Like, why are we fighting people over the people
right? Like, and that was my point. That was my point. Like, who cares that woman wants to? She wasn't bothering you, right? And it would be the same way if it was the other side, right? Like, I'm just like, who cares who on the face, right? It's not as serious as, I need to do bodily harm, right? I can understand if you think, hey, I got this on the line, I got this on the line, this on the line. Well, that's where you need to have discourse and conversations and things like that.
Right.
But to want to do physical harm to people because of who they're voting for is just
sick.
It's a mental thing. So either way on either side,
either way,
if I see it, I would definitely call it out, because that makes absolutely no sense. Like, it's stupid.
And it's like, my thing is like, when people do this, liberal, Democrat, whatever, Republican, doing that, what are you hoping to gain out of that? Like, what you going to beat the vote out of her? Like, I mean, like in that particular situation.
When I saw that, I was just like, okay, you beat this lady because she's voting for Trump. It's like, so you beat one person. It's millions more. Like, you get what I'm saying?
You can't beat everybody.
It would make no sense on either side to even go that far. And then it's just like, we have to learn as a nation to, and I think, as I told you before, I think the media, exacerbates a lot of the stuff with, all the radical stuff that they say in the media. And I did a video the other day, where it showed, I did the Russian disinformation. I did a Russian disinformation video because that's bad, right? But I did a video on it that showed certain things, and what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg is now whistleblowing, talking about, that he was made to suppress stuff. Right now, when that was happening, everybody that spoke out about it was oh, y'all are nuts, this and this and that. You understand when you're being suppressed, right? Like when stuff is being blocked and things like that. Like, and I was one of those people. Okay, so I know what that looks like. But oh yeah, I was blocked from posting stuff. Yeah.
On what?
I was one of those on Meta. On Meta.
Damn.
Yeah, I was blocked from posting stuff. Yeah.
I ain't never been blocked before. Bless my heart.
Yeah, because
so I don't be arguing with the peoples.
No, I don't know. It was for sharing. It wasn't arguing. It was for sharing
something, information.
Yeah. So you know how we share stuff back and forth. I couldn't even share stuff. And if you wanted to share,
what it was. I don't even want to ask you what it was.
Yeah, it's just, if you wanted to share stuff, you couldn't share it, and it's just like, why, right? And now you could here it is. You find out that it was purposely being suppressed. So I don't know if Mark Zuckerberg is doing it because somebody else is about to whistleblow. I'm always on why these people are doing it. Nevertheless, I got the information, right?
That's the reason.
So I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive. But and I'm not a Mark Zuckerberg fan. I can tell you that right now. But at the end of the day, I got the information and I knew I wasn't crazy. So you suppress one thing, and it's Russian disinformation, which I still don't know what the hell Russian disinformation. When I did the video, I said, somebody down in the comments tell me what Russian disinformation is. I said, is it an ad? Right. Like, what is it? Like,
I'm gonna say this. They said today, Putin. They said Putin just sat here and said he would rather Kamala be the president because he would rather her take care of all the stuff in Gaza. And so, to me, that was Russian misinformation, because that man probably would prefer Trump in office. He's just saying that for people to be like, damn, what's the Putin got going on with Kamala? In the sense of, I don't know what his reasoning was, but it just came out today. And I'm like, Putin going for Kamala. And then the next comments were, oh, Putin's probably voting for her because want people to vote for her so he can then dominate the country. Like, because he can easily take over the country because it's a woman at the helms of the United States of America, which I'm just like, come on now, we still have our military. Don't do that. But I mean, that's misinformation, because like, really, how are we getting information from Putin?
Well, here's the thing. So if you are sitting there saying, well, first of all, I hate having other countries
weigh in on.
I hate having the media. Well, no, I hate having the media kind of translate other countries, because a lot of the times they're not translating it right. Just like how they don't tell us certain stuff. And a lot of people don't know this, but America is allowed to do propaganda. America is allowed to show their general public. Mind you, we're sitting here talking about Russia and China. America is allowed to do the same thing. It made its way back in the 2000s. So you gotta wonder. That's why I'm always like, what's Russian disinformation? Because is it the information that you don't like? Because when you look at what happened, as Mark Zuckerberg is saying, they kept saying, oh, this was Russian disinformation, but they literally suppressed the Hunter Biden story, right? Which because on that laptop, it would have showed that he was working with those people. But they suppressed it. The New York Times talked about how they suppressed, and these are all liberal outlets. These are not these are not yes, the New York Times is a liberal.
No. I mean, because it's two-sided with that. The thing about it is,
no, but what I'm saying is why are you if this is supposed to be a free society, you now, and this passed with the TikTok bill, as they like to call it. You now, as the president, from Biden, if Kamala gets in, to anybody else, you now, as the president, get to decide what information I hear. To me, again, there's an overreach. So Biden decided, oh, it was okay. It was okay for us not to hear the Hunter Biden story, right? When
we heard anything else.
When that actually was a national security issue. That actually was an issue. So I'm like, when you look at it all, it's like, do you want to be, the American government wants to be the only one giving out this information. They gave out this information.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you.
They gave out this
misinformation. We are the problem. America is the problem.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't know what Russian disinformation is, because I get disinformation all the time, and usually it's not from Russia. It's not from Russia.
Information from CNN, C-SPAN, Fox. Like, y'all are telling us information. So y'all have to, one, translate it. And not only that, but you got to keep in mind, Russia only going to tell us what Russia wants us to know. So they can tell us,
again, you can expect that from other countries, right? Because this is not their country, so who cares, right?
Right. But who will let their right hand know what their left hand doing?
But this is America. America doesn't tell Americans. So I tell people all the time, watch stuff outside of American television. And the first thing that they do with those bills is they ban, Russian television. They ban Al Jazeera. They ban, because when I would go over to Dubai and stuff like that, I see something totally different.
Oh, I know, because I work for an international news station, and I mean, they couldn't. I mean, honestly and truthfully, where they were actually broadcasting to, those people ain't even really supposed to watch the news in that country. What they were doing was they were trying to make sure that the people in other countries from that country knew what was going on there, and because the people there, they weren't allowed to know. I'm not even look. I ain't nobody about to say.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
But they couldn't do anything. So they was like, all right, we're going to, let the people that are hypothetically the Americans know, even though they're not there anymore, they've moved to other places in the world, but they're still providing that information, even though Americans can't even watch the news to know what's going on in their own country. And I thought it was sick and twisted, but I'm happy that the company that I work for was providing people that information. They did very good investigative journalism, international journalism, where they, uncover certain stories to where, especially with everything going on now in that particular country, it's very informative. And there's so much misinformation from C-SPAN, from Fox, from whatever, that I'm happy that I was
because most people don't know the mainstream media is all beholden to the Associated Press. So
Correct.
you ever seen that video where they have all the reporters literally saying the same thing? It's because they all get it from the same place. It all has to coincide. They give a different talking point, yada yada. Okay, you're more liberal, I'm gonna give you this point. You're more conservative, give you this point. But at the end of the day, it's all the same thing. So you have independent media that tries to come up and it gets suppressed. You got independent journalists, they're getting suppressed on social media. So that is my whole thing. Most of the time, I don't even think it's these people's ideas, but they're the puppets that they're the conduit that is coming through, right? So that's why I think the independent is so important. The third party is so important because when you're beholden to a party, you're gonna toe that line. You're gonna go ahead and do what you gotta do because you're so beholden to that party instead of being for the people. So I'm gonna play this RFK clip and we're gonna come back and you tell me what you think. Where it is? RFK. Here we go. Boom.
But now they are aligned. 11 days ago, Bobby suspended his independent campaign for president, endorsed former President Donald Trump. So what are the great things he's got in mind for the Trump administration? He joins us now. Thank you for joining us, Bobby, and taking this opportunity. Why wasn't it a better move to stay neutral and command the attention of both sides as long as you could for the duration of this campaign?
Well, it became clear to me, Chris, that I was not going to be allowed on the debating stage, which was really my only path to victory. I was already being boycotted by all of the mainstream media, by the liberal media. When Ross Perot ran, in 10 months that he was running for president, he had 34 appearance interviews on mainstream media. In 17 months, I had only 2 live interviews on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and MSNBC. So I couldn't reach that audience. I had no way to grow. And our polling was showing that if I stayed in the race, Vice President Harris would win. And I did not want that outcome. I don't think that Vice President Harris is a worthy president of this country. I think we need to have a president who can give an interview, who can articulate a vision, who can put together an English sentence, who can articulate her and defend her policies and her record, and who can engage in a debate and regular debates on unscripted appearances. Vice President Harris's speech at the convention made it very clear that she will continue the warfare state, that she's bragging about how she sees warfare as a tool, as the frontline tool of American foreign policy. This is a catastrophe for our country. We've got to unravel the warfare.
You think Trump would step away from Israel?
I don't think he's going to step away from Israel. Israel is in a defensive war. And Trump's policy on Israel has been much better in the past than the Democratic policy. So that's not going to happen. But
Ukraine is in a defensive war also, but he hasn't been as sympathetic to that cause. That doesn't bother you at all, Bobby? That it seems
I don't consider Ukraine a defensive war.
Who started it?
I think that was a war. That was a war that was not. We're being told in this country that this is a war that is territorial. It's not. It's a war that was over security and that were legitimate. And I'm not excusing Vladimir Putin for invading Ukraine. He had other choices, but he warned us. We tried to do something we shouldn't have done, which is to put NATO in Ukraine. And not only Putin, but every leader since 1992 of Russia has said that is going to be a red line. We went in 2014. We overthrew the democratically elected government of Ukraine, and then we started the process of putting NATO in the country, which they said was a red line for 30 years. Oh,
Right, but Bobby, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long somebody says it's a red line. You can't justify violence in a political situation. You don't like that NATO is going to be in Ukraine? Okay, you've been saying it for a long time. Okay.
Okay, I had to pause it real quick because he just said you can't justify violence. America does it all the time. We invaded Iraq for what?
I mean, no, there's no. I mean, violence shouldn't happen. I mean, but all we're doing is going to take people's take what they have, take their goods, and making it seem like it's war.
Yeah,
but
so
really
we didn't need to get into that.
No.
So
I mean, we didn't need to kill people. It shouldn't have been no casualties. That's what I don't like. Like, why are people that are not involved in the war being casualties? Like, I don't like the casualties of war. And honestly and truthfully, like the fact that we create most of the wars that we have because we're trying to go over there and get stuff is almost kind of crazy. But I mean, I get it. I don't really know all the nature. I don't know what the underlying factors that come to play because I'm not in that position. But it's just like, young, why are we going over there? We're spending money. We're spending our tax money. And we're not like an immediate threat. Like we're not about to die. Like America's not about to the nukes are not coming over. So I'm like, why are we there? You know, and that's the one part
this is why I don't agree with us being in Ukraine. I mean, I don't agree with us sending money to Israel either. But again, that's that military industrial complex, right? They're not going to stop that. Right.
But this all goes into the whole fact they want to make more military. So I watched this video with Mitch McConnell. And so he was saying how like pretty much we sent all those weapons over there that were worth X amount of dollars to Ukraine. So in theory, what we're doing is we're taking the money and we're going to just create new stuff for America so we can do other things. So, I mean, I understood that. It made sense because it's almost like, what do you do? You know, like when we got a whole rack of clothes in our closet, what do? We take them to the Goodwill. I get that point to some degree, but at the same time, we still got to pay for the new stuff.
It's like, the military industrial complex. What you're talking about is the military. It's like
and all right, all them people, all of that.
We left what? All the military stuff over there in was it Afghanistan? Yeah. And they had a whole damn parade with it.
Hell yeah. And then started
I'm just like what are you doing? Right?
But
the money that's spent on the military is ridiculous because we get into these proxy wars or we go invade these countries as we talked about before with the 7 countries. But we go do this so we can spend more money on the military industrial complex, getting these contracts, this, that, and third. And it's just wasteful spending. So to hear Chris Cuomo say, oh, well, why are we not supporting? Why do you don't want to support Ukraine? Because I don't want to. Like it's not doing anything for Americans. The money that we spent over there, every American can have $1 million right now, if not more. And that's every last one of them. 850 trillion, and probably more. That's probably what's on the books.
I think is this like everything that you spend money on better have some type of return on the investment. That's my thing.
It has no.
I don't see no return.
It has no return. We don't have no jobs in Ukraine. We don't have nothing coming from Ukraine. We don't.
I mean, the thing is only that for Russia. They just want to
import in Ukraine. What are we doing?
I mean, I get it to some degree of having the allies. I'm not knocking that at all. But my thing is, if we're spending more to have allies and we're not getting anything in return and we have no intimate
but
danger,
it's not an ally. It's not an ally because we essentially we run that government. So technically, it's not even an ally. You get what I'm saying?
They're working for us. They work for us essentially.
So it's not an ally. So and when you look at it, it's on the border of what? It's on the border of Russia. They know what they're doing. America knows what they're doing when they do this. So I wholeheartedly agree with what his stance on on Ukraine. And like I said, I don't agree with sending money for
I don't
nothing.
agree with that either. No,
I don't agree. I don't agree with sending money for nothing. But I know that they're going to continue to fund they're going to continue to fund Israel because one, it's their ally in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
And you know, outside of Israel, they don't have nobody.
Right. So we need something there, but at the same time, it shouldn't cost us so much. And I mean, I agree with that. That is one thing where, you know, you got to pick and choose the things that you're going to go with. Cause I'm like, all right, if I pick this way, you know what I mean? These are the, you know, like on a medication or prescription, you know, that you get, and, you know, it's supposed to take care of one thing, your diabetes. And then it also going to cause glaucoma and liver and kidney and all these other things, but it's going to take care of the immediate thing. So it's like, how do you do that? And it's like, most times it's like a natural way to figure out how to cure it. But I'm just saying, there's another way to do this. Yeah, but I don't think there's an aggressive approach. I think so many times people, especially in countries and stuff, and I'm not saying that people are so nice and gentle or whatever like that. Like, this is a hardball game. I'm a woman. They'll say, oh, you're so sensitive, you're emotional, however the case may be. But I'm going to say this, that either way, people know that in their heart what's right and what's wrong. We don't got no business going over there. However, we want to maintain our allies. If we are not seeing an immediate return on our investment, then what are we doing there? And I feel very passionate
and that's what he was saying about, look, the man, he's like, I'm not justifying Putin, but the man told you if you send NATO over there, what was gonna happen. And you did it anyway, on purpose. Right. And now you're involving, you have the American people footing out the bill for a war that we didn't ask for.
But even then, and I mean, they try to justify with the whole dynamic of Donald and Putin and trying to say, like, use that as some type of like whatever. And I'm like, come on now. Like, that's why I'm almost like, honestly and truthfully, I really like want this whole Donald Trump thing to just kind of like, I'm ready for him to like ride off in the sunset personally, because it seems like it's like I just kind of miss the old political politics of just like Republican, Democrat, Independent, and all that other stuff. Nowadays, we have like Republicans against Republicans, Democrats against Democrats. Independents.
That's because you have something that's happening on the grassroots level, and that's why I brought up both Donald and Bernie, because the people are noticing what's happening. So they're like, no, you're not gonna. The reason why it was always so quiet, because they gave you a candidate. They're like, no, you're not gonna give us a candidate. We're going to give you a candidate that we like, that we trust, regardless of if all Americans like Bernie, and regardless of if all Americans like Donald Trump. The people put them there.
Right.
The people said that's what they want.
But this is what I don't like about with Bobby right now. Okay. Let me get to the other points with him real quick, because I know you're going to replay. But with him, first, they said he called her first. So she refused to talk to him. And he even went on record saying, I reached out to the Harris camp first. They didn't want to talk. Now they didn't talk. You go to Trump. I don't really know where his alliances really lie. What if he did talk to Kamala at first? Would he have picked the Democratic side to say, oh, let me whatever with her? Or would he have still chose to go with Trump? That's the part where I'm confused.
Well, maybe he called her to talk about her policies and he didn't like them.
No, he called her because he wanted to be a part, like join with her. From what I saw, he said I
didn't hear him say he wanted to be with her, because I've been watching it. I'm as an independent. I watch a lot of his stuff basically on vaccines and his other stances, and I support like how hard he goes at these pharmaceutical companies, but as an independent, you can, when you want to align yourself, you'll look at certain things. But I would only imagine that, being that his family is, Democratic, that he would want to, but it's something there that is the fact though that he don't want to mess with.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think
I definitely do.
It's more. It's. Let's just be real. We know that it's like of a little nitty gritty stuff that's like the root of some stuff. He called her first. He didn't get the response he want. To me,
I'm gonna have to look into that. Like, I can't speak to that point because I haven't seen it, so I can't really speak to it.
Oh, anybody, you can look it up. But now whether he's saying he wanted to be on her campaign or in her cabinet, I just know that he did say, I reached out to Kamala's team first, and then I didn't get a response, and then he went on and talked to Trump. So what that conversation would have looked like, if you calling me first, you ain't calling me to say, well, I'm about to go over here with Trump, and bam, bam, bam. He fall out. He ain't over.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Like, that's what I would want to know. Like, what is the context of that, right? Because we all know you can say certain things and it without giving context, it'll be taken whatever way they want to take it, right? If you look at what happened to poor Joe Rogan, and even with Tulsi, right, where he was talking about Tulsi and then switched to talking about Kamala, and they took his remarks about Tulsi and made a whole ad saying that Joe Rogan supported Kamala. Yeah, it's just this is what I'm. This one
I've heard him say it. So with that,
no, I'm saying this came out of Joe Rogan's mouth, but the way that without context, I'm saying
no, I heard him say
I'm saying if you don't give context, meaning like if I say I called Jules and then I called and then I called Jules's husband. Well, what's the context?
But if you, my thing
what did you call Jules about?
He doesn't owe Kamala an explanation. He doesn't owe her an explanation. As
right, but I don't know what he's calling to talk about. That's what I'm saying. What does he call? What does he call?
I don't know what his rationale was, but he said I called the Harris campaign team and they didn't want to talk, so I called the Trump team. What that conversations are to me, if that's the only context that I have, to me it seems like a person that couldn't get a contact over there. So you said, "Oh well, shoot."
If you ain't just said right there. That's I said when you don't give context,
you can assume whatever. So there's the middle. There's the middle. Yeah. That's the gray area right there.
So that's what I mean.
But even then, so this is the next part I have. He insulted her in education. He insulted how she talks and stuff like that. My man, I barely can understand everything, and I know it's due to health stuff, but when you cannot have a solid conversation yourself, then how dare you talk about how this woman speaks and saying that she cannot complete sentences when you're almost struck? Like, I don't like the fact that people are calling some people out for the same stuff that they do. Like, sir, you can barely talk yourself. So, and I know it's due to his health and everything like that. But if that's the case, you don't have the right to speak on her education because
there's a difference between, if I'm a smoker, now I got a hole in my throat and I got to talk like that and you can't understand me. That is the difference between that and being, there's the difference between that and illiteracy. And I'm not saying that she's illiterate. What I'm saying, I'm just giving an extreme. I'm giving an extreme.
Even the other little dude on Fox, I don't even know his name. The little dude with the black hair.
I mean, everybody's not good at public speaking. And let's be clear, she's not good at public speaking. She's not.
She does what she needs. She's effective in what she's been doing.
Like everybody's not good at public speaking. She is not.
She is public speaking.
If we talk about. Right. So
but that doesn't mean that doesn't take away her education. That doesn't take away her knowledge. That doesn't take away anything like that.
Well, education and being knowledgeable, are two different things. Being book smart and actually being smart are two different things. Because Elon Musk is way smarter than people with high education. Elon Musk is way smarter than people with higher education.
I'm not even about to speak anything of Elon Musk or whatever.
No, what I'm saying is your intelligence has nothing to do with the books.
But even then, some people are so smart that they lack common sense. And sometimes common sense is where some people can actually thrive more with common sense just as much as book smart. That's my person. Like a person with book
which is why I said intelligence has nothing to do.
A person with common sense might survive a little differently than a person with book smart. I'm just
which
saying.
Is why I said the common sense. Which is why I said intelligence has nothing to do with the books.
But But I'm saying, even still, for him to insult how she's speaking, to pretty much insult the way she articulates herself when he's struggling himself, to me, it's like, do you have to say something negative about her in reference to just talk about your change of decision? You don't have to do all that. Just speak on what good
Well,
about Trump.
no, he asked him though.
I mean,
He didn't
he
just
said,
say it. He said,
you
why don't you like her? And so he articulated on it.
I mean, if that was what he called articulating, then I think I need to go and look up what articulate mean, because that was
I mean, okay, but how many times have we heard people ask people, why don't you like Trump? I think he's dumb. I think he's a misogynist. I think he's stupid. Like, you didn't even got
those
to
are, I mean,
one
I don't
of the
think he's
policies.
dumb. No, I mean, I don't think the man is dumb. I think the man is
No,
smart
I'm just
enough
saying,
to hire the right people
how many
around
times
him.
have you heard that? I can
mean,
clearly
yes,
assure
and
you
I think the problem is with me, and I think this is the problem for me. I'll say this for me specifically. The problem is, I know my character, and there's some stuff that I just don't do, that I assume that every person is supposed to be like me in that mindset, and that's where I fuck up at. Because the reality is, people can say what the fuck they want to say about people. Me personally, I'm like, shoot, I don't need to say nothing negative about a person when I can just speak some highly things on the person that I do like. I don't need to point out my flaws. My flaws are evident, but I can talk about all the good things that I am, because those things are not obvious. So to me, when Bobby is up here making these statements, to me, I mean, I get his rationale, like, okay, I made the decision because of whatever the case may be, but I'm not going to sit here and say, like, now you go from being independent, you call Kamala, and now you're on Trump, you're on the Trump train.
Well, you can't say you don't like duality, right? Because me and you, we talk about spirituality all the time, and you can't have the positive without what?
The negative.
The negative, right? So whether the negative leads you to well, that's the thing. The negative always leads you to what you're gonna do, right? What you're gonna do about it. When you get a negative emotion, the way forward only comes from that, or else you would just stay stagnant, right? So I have to have, in order for me to do something, I have to have that negative emotion. So maybe he doesn't like her for whatever reason, right? But my thing is, I don't take people expressing what they don't like about somebody as it being just negative.